Hello, and you're all very welcome along to the latest Champ.ie podcast, Ireland's premier horse racing podcast in association with Boylesports, Gorham Park, EJ Menswear, Shamrock Thoroughbreds, Midland Travel and McCafferty's traditional Irish bars.
They're coming to the final fence in the 25 Govs Trieste. Nick Rocket lands in the lead from Velvet Elvis, gone well clear of Favori de Shondu and Bushman's Pass. They're well strung out. Nick Rocket on the stand side for win number 10 in the race for Willie Mullins.
Enter our Champ.ie headline competition in association with Midland Travel, where you could win a trip for two to the Cheltenham Festival 2026. For a chance to win, simply subscribe to the Champ.ie podcast on YouTube if you haven't already, and scan the QR code to enter your competition details today. We look forward to discussing your weekly #5cast selections in the comment section below.
Yes, and we're on the road again, the Road to Cheltenham Challenge season at number 6, episode number 7. And this time the turn of a young man that's siving through the pack like a hot knife through butter in the Irish media ranks. Niall Tierney, you're like talk the talk in the Tattersalls Ireland Novice Hurdle at the weekend.
Absolutely, Barry. Thanks very much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on. I feel like a bit of an imposter now, looking at some of the guests who have gone before me. But that's the plan at the minute. Whether I'm as quick as that horse, I don't know. But definitely it's good and getting plenty of opportunities. So I'm delighted.
We've lots to discuss, Niall, and you were up at the Dublin Racing Festival. I was on studio duty myself, but this show, by the way, proudly in association with Boylesports, our betting partner, Gorham Park, of course, Racecourse, EJ Menswear, Shamrock Thoroughbreds, McCafferty's traditional Irish bars, and Midland Travel. And as always, a big thank you to Lonit as well, who will be powering our social media clips. But Niall, I suppose, what did we learn this weekend at the Dublin Racing Festival? Will we be following the form, given the ground, I suppose, situation and some of the results? Do you think we'll be following the form as religious heading into Cheltenham?
Look, I mean, it was a very informative weekend as a result standpoint. I mean, there's probably a few bubbles burst throughout the weekend, the likes of Final Demand in the Ladbrokes Novice Chase. Maybe Lossiemouth, the decision with her and the Mayor's Hurdle probably looks like she'll swing that way now with the Champion Hurdle results. And no, I think overall of the weekend, it was once again extremely informative. I mean, look, when you get them horses there on the big day, it's just a savage 2 days. And I think a big credit needs to go to Leopardstown for having racing on. They did a very difficult task at the start of the week. We all saw the videos on Tuesday of the racetrack. So Paddy Graffin and all the team there, Mark Clayton, everyone involved, it was brilliant that they even managed to have the festival on. And we were treated to 2 fantastic days of racing with brilliant performances and some lovely stories behind them.
What about, I suppose, crowds on Monday? Because obviously that would have affected the crowds from an international standpoint, bank holiday here, and obviously those travelling over from the UK. I suppose, how did that one work out on Monday, I suppose, crowds-wise at Leopardstown?
Well, I suppose on the Sunday we saw a crowd of over 17,000, and then I think it went back to about 9,000 on the Monday, which probably was expected. A couple of the English people that were scheduled to fly home actually extended their flights to the Monday, which was great. But I thought it was a great racing crowd there yesterday. I mean, just before the Nathaniel Lacey, there was 4 or 5 deep outside the parade ring, which shows you that people are there and just to see these magnificent horses. And I mean, before the Irish Gold Cup, I don't think Paul Townend's often heard the screams of "Go on, Paul, go on, Gallopin," and he hasn't even left the parade ring yet. So that shows you that people were there to see the horses yesterday. And it was a real privilege to be there yesterday. Now, it was a really nice atmosphere. Everyone was just happy. I think that's the main result of the weekend, is everyone was just delighted that we were racing and we were able to see some brilliant horses out there just doing their thing as always.
In terms of the championship, we're going to be discussing that, the standings, and maybe a little prediction of yourself in terms of that Irish Trainers Championship at the towards the back end of the show. But let's kick on. We've left the ratings up to you, Niall, on this occasion, and we're going to start with the 5-star performance. Have to say, by the way, I'm in agreement with most of these, including where we're going to start. Dr. Steinberg in the Nathaniel Lacey, 5-star performance. He was pretty good considering how he raced. Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, it was quite a phenomenal performance, really. I mean, any horse that pulls as hard as he did, and you could probably say he was a difficult enough ride for Paul Townend throughout. And Danny Gilligan was excellent on Riskaway, just right beside him, always there, kind of annoying him. But the way he kind of just pulled into the straight, and you're kind of thinking, is this fella going to empty? But no, it was very reminiscent of his Navan performance. Just this no-nonsense approach that he is just loves, just head down and just keeps going. It was really, really good to see. And I suppose a Ballinroe bumper winner going off 7-4 for Nathaniel Lacey is probably, it's not something we've seen, but it just goes to show that Willie Mullins' effect again. Like, his horses, they don't know what level they're at, and you can't even put a prediction on how high they rise. But I just thought it was an outstanding performance. I mean, just all the middle part through the race, you're just thinking, will you just settle a small bit or just help him out a small bit? But no, it was just this constant pulling and dragging, and it was just that turn of foot then as they turned. All weekend we saw horses kind of coming back that were on the front end, but this fella, 2 ears pricked to the last, jumped it like a buck, and on he went again. And he couldn't have been any more impressive, really.
It was probably Jerry Hallen's moment of the entire weekend. Emphatic. I think he nearly lost his breath when Dr. Steinberg crossed the line. But just on the performance, I think we have differing views as to where this horse might end up. I suppose at Cheltenham, jumped the last like he just jumped in. And I just think in an Albert Bartlett, I think the Albert Bartlett could be the route to go with this horse, given the fact that they go like the Clappers early doors. I know it's 3 miles. I think Ruby made reference to it last night in the road to Cheltenham as well. Might just help them settle that little bit better than in the likes of a Turner's, where they tend to go steady enough early doors. I just think a stronger run race in a Bartlett might just help them to settle. He's a shorter price for that than he is the Turner's. But then again, Niall, Willie Mullins at this point in time doesn't really have an obvious Turner's horse, and Final Demand went this route last season.
Exactly that. I mean, just looking back on the correlation, that exactly Final Demand last season went on, and I know he didn't win the Turners, but I mean, he was thereabouts coming up to the last. So I just think the way he races, it would probably suit him to go down and trip. Like the Albert Bartlett, you can do a lot wrong at the start of a race, and they kind of tend to, if you're pulling and dragging at that early stage in Cheltenham, you might not get away with it as you would in Leopardstown. I just think the no-nonsense kind of approach that he has to racing would help him in a Turners, because he's able just to turn off that bend and quicken, and he'll keep going, and it'll take a fair horse to go by him. I know, obviously, there's no drama this end over in England, and he's been nothing but impressive. So, look, it definitely takes shape, but it just shows that these horses have so many options, and the likes of Mighty Park, who we've seen earlier on in the season, like, could he go back and run in a Supreme? Look, there's questions, and I won't be the one answering them now, but look, it's not my decision. But what I do, if I own the horse anyways, I'd go for the Turners and let him use that stamina that we've seen on the last 2 occasions now, because it's definitely working in his favour.
The former's worked out with the Devil You Know, obviously winning as well. So that Navan form looks good. But yeah, I think we'll agree on one thing on this anyway. It was a 5-star performance, top quality. It didn't look maybe the strongest Nathaniel Lacey, I thought, heading into the race, but definitely the style in which he won and jumped the last, should I say, as if he was a fresh horse. So what about Talk the Talk? This is a horse that between the second last and the last, on the last 2 occasions, I mean, he clearly has talent. We didn't see too many horses, Niall, over the course of the weekend make up the ground that he did coming from off the pace, and I thought it was very, very impressive. And I have to say, looking at the rerun, I still don't believe he won, but anyway, I was on Ballyfad.
Yeah, geez, it was a cracker of a race anyways. I mean, all 3 horses there with a chance coming to the last, King Rasco Grey, Ballyfad, like, both impressive maiden winners. This fella, though, he just has that different kind of class element. I feel like Joseph O'Brien, listening to him afterwards, it was all about just getting this horse experience and thinking of the future. So that's probably what played a part in the reason of a 5-star, because I think they would have been happy if he was second or third and ran a very good race and had learned a lot, because you could just see what JJ Slevin was doing all the race. He was just teaching him how to settle down and to get him jumping. And for a 4-year-old to have a fall like he did at Christmas and to jump the way that he did, like, he was exceptional. And that jump at the last, like, there was no sign of that horse thinking back over what happened at Christmas. And just that change of gears, like, as I said earlier, on that ground, especially on the Sunday, horses were coming back that small bit, but this fella was only getting going, and he's a huge turn of pace. And look, he's a really exciting horse going forward for all of the Double Green team. And look, it was a fantastic result, and it was great for JJ Slevin as well. Look, another Grade 1 winner for him, and look, he's just a cracking horse for the future, I think, and I think he'll be very good.
That's Supreme Novices Hurdle. I think our connection's leaning that way towards the Supreme. You have Al-Kairos in there. I know you like him. Old Park Star, I'm a massive fan of that horse. I mean, the Supreme is starting to look red hot, isn't it?
It's definitely a red hot race. Anyways, I'm a fan of Al-Kairos now. I just think he's awfully inexperienced still, and I just think if he could get a lead going to the last, and just once he jumps the last safely, as we've seen on the 2 occasions, it hasn't really worked that way. But he just has plenty of boot, and there is a change of gear there. But I felt from Joseph's comments that the Supreme was the aim, although I have heard a few comments afterwards from other people saying that he could be suited in the Turners as it's a bit more steadily run, and he could use that turn of pace at the end. But I just think this fella's a 2-mile horse, and I think if he could go on, he could be a champion hurdle horse in a couple of years, and we could be talking about him for quite some time, because look, just the pace that he showed and the way he jumps as well, he's slick, and he really, really impressed me now at the weekend. I thought it was very, very good.
Thought so. Just interesting on the Thursday show, building up to the Dublin Racing Festival. Speaking to Sam Ewing, he obviously rode the horse at Christmas at Leopardstown. It was that turn of foot, similar to what we saw at the weekend, that he showed from the second last to the last, that was the most impressive. I just wonder, is this horse this season, going to be the finished article heading to Cheltenham? Old Park Star, I think, is going to take a hell of a lot of beating at this point in time in the Supreme. El Kairos, I think you make a good case, to be fair. And I have to say, I think the Turners looks, from a Ballyfad bet, by the way, I don't want this to happen, but I do think the Turners looks maybe more of a winnable race for Talk to Talk. And again, like we said about Dr. Steinberg, the Bart, that they go very, very quick for a 3-mile race early on the new course as well. That could suit him. Whereas the Turners is on the old course. They go that little bit steadier earlier, and it might just help him, to get into a little bit more of a rhythm with his jumping and use that turn of foot like we saw last season with the New Lion at the end of his race. So it'll be interesting to see. Look, Talk to Talk, 5-star rating. We're in agreement once again. Let's stick with, let's go to Majborough, because you've given him 4.5-star rating. Mark Walsh, what a weekend, but Majborough, we knew he could jump, didn't we?
Yeah, well, I don't know if we all thought of it after the hilly way, but look, I mean, Willie Mullins has never been shy in the way that he speaks about this horse, and we've seen it when he was running in a Triumph Hurdle. Look, he's just a spectacular animal. I mean, when you come up beside him, you just think, wow, this fella he's a beast of a horse, and he's still so young and inexperienced. But Mark Walsh's comments after the race were very taken, where he said, this is the real Majborough, and I think that's what we saw. We saw the first time cheek pieces applied, and I just think it allowed him to concentrate, and he's usually kind of looking around maybe, but he was foot perfect. You can't give him all 5 stars. I suppose the only thing is in behind, I don't think Solness or Marine National really ran their race.
Yeah,
I think the ground was an impact on that as well. But look, take nothing away from the winner. He's a fantastic horse, but we all know he has that. He showed it in Cheltenham, apart from the last 2 last year, and he showed it at the Dublin Racing Festival last year. But yeah, as you say about Mark Walsh, I mean, what a fantastic weekend. 4 Grade 1 winners, and all in JP's colours. Look, it was a fantastic weekend for him, and he really showed that, look, the talk on Twitter is cheap, and he's there and he's doing his talking on the race course. But we expect nothing less. And look, Majborough, brilliant. And I was delighted to kind of see him do that, because he's a horse that I liked for a long time. And when you start kind of giving up on them a small bit, it's great to see them come back and do what he did. But look, he's a fantastic animal. Whether you'd be wanting to take the 6-4, 13-8 on him now for a champion chase is another thing. A bit quicker ground, and one mistake in Cheltenham in a 2-mile event could end your chances fairly swiftly. But look, he's an extremely talented horse, and it's poetry in motion, as Willie Mullins said, when you're looking at him do what he did on Sunday. So it was really, really good.
And that being said, he's probably next season's horse as well. So, you look at this season and you think that he's been maybe brought to the boil gradually, even fitness-wise. You mentioned the mistakes in Cork. I thought there was a much improved jumper performance actually at Leopardstown at Christmas, albeit he didn't win. But the fact that he's progressed again and stepped up again, I mean, I'll put it to you like this. I'd be surprised if he goes backwards.
Yeah.
At Cheltenham, and I just think he's a horse that might be going in the right direction at the right time, and he might come right for the big day. But fingers crossed, because of the portfolio on the show, Niall, he's probably looking the best at 4-1. I think we have him in the team sheet. So fingers crossed, that's looking good. But whether I'd want to back him at 6-4 now, I'm not so sure. Yeah. Talk to us about, we're speaking about Mark Walsh. Before we go to our first ad break, Narcisso Has, and I believe you're a massive fan of this horse as well. And relentless is probably a word I'd use to describe him.
Yeah, relentless. Just once again, just no nonsense, really. I mean, he came over to Ferryhouse and made his debut for Willie Mullins, and he was beaten that day by Monge too. But it was kind of, you were always looking at the future with this lad. And I mean, at Leopardstown at Christmas, it was incredible, the performance that he put in, and Danny Mullins was brilliant. Really, really good front running ride. And it's kind of just, this fella does not let up at all. Like, he is only wanting something to come alongside him and say, right, you take me on here, because he just seemed to laugh at them. And it was quite the same the last day. I mean, just the way he jumps and the way he picks up, he's not slowing down at all. And he's very smart. He's a really, really, really good horse now. And definitely, I'd be just a small bit querying on the form of the race, maybe just the fact that the Rich Ritchie mare making her debut for Mullins again, that she finished second. Maybe Monge too disappointed slightly, as she was impressive when she won in Leopardstown in Ferryhouse against Narciso Has. So you just question the form a small bit. But I mean, look, he's 2 from 2 now in Leopardstown. He's done nothing wrong, and he's a worthy triumph favourite, and it'll take a good one to beat him on the day, because I just think he loves breaking horses' hearts, and just this no-nonsense style of racing that he has. It's really nice on the eye, and just the camera work in Leopardstown, I think, does him a great job as well, because you can just see how much he is picking up, and that turn of pace is there, and the stamina is there as well.
When we come back from our first ad break, going to take a look at Factifyle's performance in the Irish Gold Cup. Brighter Days Ahead, who has to be a big player now for the Champion Hurdle, and Romeo Coolio has divided opinions. I think he's going to divide opinions once again on this show when we come back from our very first ad break. Let's now hear about the mega competition that we have at Midland Travel and your opportunity to win a trip to the Cheltenham Festival.
To begin with the chance of winning an all-inclusive trip for two to the 2026 Cheltenham Festival in association with Midland Travel, Ireland's leading horse racing travel specialist. Simply subscribe to Champ.ie on YouTube if you haven't already, and scan the QR code on screen and answer the following question. Who won the 2025 Cheltenham Gold Cup? Was it 1. Galopin de Champ, 2. I Know the Way You're Thinking, or 3. Marine Nationale? Register your competition details today, including your YouTube username. Don't forget, you must subscribe to Champ.ie on YouTube to qualify. The competition winner will be announced on Thursday, the 12th of February. Best of luck and be lucky.
Yes, and of course, so we've had lots of entries, but if you're not in, you cannot win a trip to the Cheltenham Festival 2026. For your opportunity, scan the QR code up on screens, or alternatively, the link to enter is in the video description on YouTube. So click the link in the podcast description to enter your details for the fantastic competition put forward by Midland Travel, and we will be announcing the winner in the coming weeks. That'll be nice. Right, let's talk about the performance of, let's start with Brighter Days Ahead. 4-star performance. Talking about Narciso has been relentless. She was equally as relentless.
Yeah, brilliant again. I mean, look, I kind of said it a couple of times. She's the apple of Gordon Elliott's eye. And look, I think Leopardstown is starting to become a playground of hers, and she just really seems to enjoy the track and all that's there. There's probably a few question marks around her surrounding Cheltenham, but definitely in Leopardstown, she seems to come alive. I suppose probably the race was set up for a small bit with the way El Fabiolo went out in front and kind of made it that bit of a stamina test, which really suited her. But look, she's just relentless, and she jumps so well. And Jack Kennedy afterwards thinking that was the best that she's ever jumped. I mean, she's put in some mighty performances before, as we saw last Christmas at Leopardstown, but Yeah, no, she's a really, really talented mare. But Gordon Elliott's never been shy in what he said about her. And yeah, no, look, she was brilliant again. Probably the 4-star comes because you look at Lossiemouth and you think, did she perform to her full potential and what we know and we see of her? Probably not. And judging by the comments made by connections afterwards, they were probably a bit surprised that she was as close as she was coming to the second last and the last. But look, take nothing away from Brighterdaysahead. She's a fantastic mare and she's big and powerful and she's beautiful to look at. I mean, she's an absolute stunner in the ring beforehand and she comes in afterwards, 2 ears pricked. And look, it was another really, really dominant display. And she just seems to love that battle. And she definitely took a step forward from Christmas anyways. And it seems like they've had a bit of a couple of issues with her this season anyways. The plan was to go chasing and that was altered. And then they go to Christmas and she ran a mighty race at Christmas to get as close as she did, which probably showed that she still is a proper mare. But no, look, it was a brilliant performance and she'll go on now to the champion hurdle. I'm just hoping that she can, I don't know, maybe perform a bit better there. It's hard to say. The first year when she lost in the mare's novice hurdle, maybe it was just a case of Jack Kennedy and Paul Townend playing cat and mouse, and then Golden Ace just comes up and goes by them both. And the second year, I don't think she was right at all. And in Punchestown, she ran like she wasn't right at all either afterwards. So I think if you just can scratch that off and just look at the first year, look, she handles the track and she'll be there on the day with a massive favourite chance of what looks a really, really open champion hurdle now at the minute. It's hard to envisage something going off quite short in that race anyway.
Of the two, I'd definitely be with the mare at the top of the market, the New Line or Brighterdaysahead, because like you say, I think when a horse runs as bad as she did at Cheltenham last season, you're hoping straight away afterwards you find something. And that was one of the big learnings, I suppose, from the interviews over the weekend with Brian Gleeson and RTE. Looking at the coverage, Gordon did, mention the issue that they did find with the knee. So, I mean, it looks like that's been ironed out. She's going to Cheltenham this season, a fresher horse as well. She had more racing last season. So she's coming to the Boyle, 10 wins and 14 or 4th grade 1. She's going to be getting £7. I mean, she was rated 159, a 7-year-old rated 159, I do believe, heading into the Dublin Racing Festival. So looking at the New Line's rating, she has to be really favoured, doesn't she? I mean, if she turns up in the type of form that we know she can, the only thing about Lossiemouth is she didn't run a race. I'd still give her one more go if she did turn up in the champion hurdle. I know Ruby's talking about, she's better over 2.5. They have, there's every reason now why they probably will go for the mare's hurdle. She's going for 3 in a row in the race and she's been beaten here. I just don't think she turned up in the same form that we've seen already this season. It looked to me like a little bit of a Kempton effort. And I just wonder, was it the ground as well, Niall? Because I know she's won a mare's hurdle on heavy ground in the past and she seems to cope with it. Generally, heading into the contest, it looked like she'd cope. But she's a slighter mare than Brighterdaysahead, and I just think Brighterdaysahead handled the conditions better than she did. But I don't think she was on a going day, and I think Paul Townend said as much on the RTE interview after the race. So, interesting. Fact to file, 4-star rating. He's only won 3 of his last 8 starts over fences. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting when you think of how high quality of a horse he is. And once again, giving 4 stars to a horse that won an Irish Gold Cup by 5 lengths is probably harsh enough. But I'd say it's kind of the thing with this horse is we kind of expected him to do it last season, especially after the way that he won the Brown Advisory. You kind of thought that next year he was going to be the Gold Cup horse. And although he ran well in the Savills and in the King George, like he won the John Durkin the year previous and then went on to the Savills, and Gallopin obviously beat him, and the same again in Leopardstown for the Irish Gold Cup. But he went on to the Ryanair in Cheltenham and he was probably the most impressive winner of the entire week. So look, he's a horse with definite quality. He seemed to have a lot harder of a race than we all thought in the John Durkin this season. He alongside Gaelic Warrior, headed him, and Gaelic Warrior, to his credit, fought back. But I just thought in Kempton the last day, just nothing went right for him. It didn't look like he enjoyed the way the track was at all or anything. And look, yesterday he was almost looked perfect. I thought at the first couple he looked a bit like he was just getting to grips with everything again. But I think he made a move kind of down the back straight on the second time around, and Mark Walsh kind of elected to switch in a bit left with him. And he just kind of eyeballed Gallopin and said, right, you're coming with me now. And although Alfredale Fury dropped back, but look, he's a horse of really, really high quality. They've never hid their excitement about him. And whether or not he can do it now in a Cheltenham Festival on the Gold Cup day is another question. But no, yesterday was brilliant. It was probably the real factor file. But no, it was brilliant. You probably just wonder, Monty Starr was in the race for so long, and you kind of look back at the form, and I thought it was a brilliant performance by Gaelic Warrior for the way that he pulled throughout, and to finish second as close as he did, and then you look at Gallopin all that way back, you might have a few question marks. Did every horse run his race? But look, he ran his race and he was brilliant again. But look, another Grade 1 winner for Mark Walsh over the weekend. It was really his weekend. That was the main takeout that I thought, like 4 Grade 1 winners, and just, it was brilliant to see.
That's a 4-star rating. Both agreeing on that. We come back from this quick ad break. We're going to be doing a quick fire round with yourself, Niall. Looking ahead to Cheltenham. Getting your thoughts, Niall, as well on the Irish Trainers' Championship after this quick break. I think there's a little less than 600,000 between Gordon Elliott and Willie Mullins after the weekend. And I think if you offered that to Gordon Elliott heading into the weekend after last year's Dublin Racing Festival, he might have just taken it.
Now boarding the train of thought.
Calling out. Injury lane. Statminster. Opinion Circus. Last Chance Cross. And decision time.
Back yourself. Boylesports.
Yes, you're reminded to be on text. Now we forgot to talk about Romeo Coolio, so we'll mention him briefly before talking about the Irish Trainers' Championship. And Romeo Coolio, look, he's divided a bit of opinion. Brown Advisory, Arkle Chase. What would you do with him? 3-star rating.
There's plenty of talk about Romeo Coolio now, where he'll go, whether he go to the Ryanair. People are saying, would you not hold on to him and let him go to Fairyhouse and to Aintree and these places? But look, the owners have been very true in what they're saying. Look, the Cheltenham is the Olympics for them, and they want a runner there. Harsh enough now. Grade 1 winner, 3-time Grade 1 winner this season already. I'm giving him 3 stars. I just thought, just throughout the race, he made a mistake, and then he looked to kind of be getting pushed along and niggled along, and you were kind of looking at the race thinking, geez, Cargis is probably going to go on here a small bit and win impressively. But look, in true Romeo Coolio fashion, he fights back and he doesn't know when to stop, jumps to last, and he looks like he's going to surge on then and win by a few lengths. But then he just, 2 ears pricked, maybe just gives a bit of a look around, and all of a sudden Cargisi comes and nearly gets him then on the line. So you'd just be wondering, could you get away with something like that in a truly run Arkle? I mean, look, we have the likes of Lulamba and Kobek the boards who are likely to be aimed there, and Cargis as well. If they get on the front end, will Romeo Coolio have enough pace to get there? I think if I had him now, I'd look at that Brown Advisory. Definitely Final Demand's reputation took a hit at the weekend, and you have to see when he is going to be a Gold Cup horse. And if he is a Gold Cup horse, and this is a perfect trial for him, I just think the way he's able to cruise around at those races at a longer distance, and the way he jumps as well, is brilliant. And we know he definitely stays. And there is a turn of gear there as well. He can get by horses and quick horses. So I probably look at the Brown Advisory for him myself. But they are probably looking at an Arkle at the minute. And I mean, he's won the trials that show that Arkle winners usually go on and do well in the race afterwards. So it's their decision, but I know what I'd do if I owned him anyways. I'd be off to the rounds.
I think he's a standout piece of form this season over fences. He's a 3-time Grade 1 winner, 2 wins over 2 miles over fences. I thought he was brilliant. It's probably, to me, his best performance was in the Drinmore over 2.5 miles, but the way he jumped and travelled on that occasion, thought 2 miles would be no problem to him. Stairs win Arkles, as we know. Gaelic Warrior, Django Bay, last 2 winners in the race. Obviously, we're looking at the 2 of them now racing over 3 miles and possibly further. So, Kopek the board, that's an interesting one. I was with the Red Mills Trial Hurdle coming up. I was hoping maybe he might run in that and be supplemented for a champion hurdle. But look, who knows? He's only had the one run over fences. So that, no matter if he shows up in the Arkle, co-pick the boar. Is it an ideal preparation? I'm sure Willie Mullins will have him pretty straight and ready if he does elect to go that route. And Lalamba, I mean, the question with him is, what's he beaten over fences? So he has, when was the last 5-year-old to win an Arkle? So I just think I'd stay 2 miles this year with Romeo Coolio, looking at the division. I know the Brown Advisory looks a little bit more open now after final demand at the weekend, like you say. But my biggest concern about Romeo Coolio at this point in time, we have him in the team sheet at a pretty skimpy price, looking at his price now for the Arkle. But my biggest concern with him is he's had plenty of racing this season. To go to Christmas, to win like he did, and to battle. It was, how hard a race did he have on that occasion? And obviously the weekend certainly didn't look an easy race or a gimme. So how hard a season has he had already to this point? And he'll be going to Cheltenham this year with one run more than when he rocked up to the Supreme last year. So that'd be my biggest concern with Romeo Coolio, not the fact that that he lacks pace, because I don't think he does. I mean, he was second in a champion bumper. So look, there we have it. Romeo Coolio, 3 stars for Niall. Niall, Irish Trainers Championship at the moment. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's ultra competitive at the minute. I mean, Gordon Elliott got Christmas extremely right, and in a difference to other years, the Dublin Racing Festival was good to him as well. Plenty of winners, and although he was really unlucky with Ballyfad getting done on the line, he still had a fantastic festival. Like, he won with the handicap with Bowens on Fire. The Grade 1 winners as well definitely helped, and I think the prize money is about 450,000 between himself and Willie Mullins at the minute. So it looks like it's going to go down all the way, anyways. But you're looking at the likes of the Fairyhouse Easter Festival and the Punchestown Festival. Like, it's going to be hugely competitive, and there's certain Grade 2 events, like Maxim won a Grade 2 hurdle last year, and I just wonder, will Gordon be aiming a certain few horses this year at Ireland more than he would Cheltenham, just to fill the places in Cheltenham? So I don't know. It's definitely going to be more interesting than other years. And
2-1 Gordon, would you take it?
I'd rather back the 2-1 than the 1-3 Willie Mullins, I suppose. I just think Gordon's horses this year are a lot better than they have been in other years. And look, everything's in form for him. The jockeys that he has riding the horses are in form. If it's not Jack Kennedy, it's Danny Gilligan and Carl Miller. These lads are well able, and we spoke about Sammy. Like, he's plenty of winners for Gordon as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be really, really competitive, and it's going to be really exciting as well. It adds just a different story to the season. We're so used to probably talking about Willie Mullins going over to England and how competitive he's going to be with Dan Skelton for the English title, but it's going to be definitely competitive over here, and I just can't wait to see how it plays out. But look, as long as we get to see the best horses there and the best days over here, we're happy out.
I think it's going down to the wire, but the one thing I would say, the Irish National could have a massive say, and with Willie not in the mix, really, I think it's probably fair to say, for the UK Championship this season. And if he's able to take on Dan Skelton across the water at the back end of the season, what's he going to be able to do this season at home? I just think Willie might just shade it, but Gordon's a massive player, and I do agree with you. Regardless how the Irish National plays out, this is going to the wire. So it's great to have it. I mean, heading into Punchestown, this is going to be all to play for. I think that is for sure. And in terms of the Dublin Racing Festival, I don't think it could have went much better for Gordon Elliott. He must be absolutely delighted, because Brighterdaysahead, Romeo Coolio, I mean, the big hitters hit the target, and obviously his performance in the handicaps was brilliant, and a 1-2-3 in the bumper then as well on the Monday bank holiday as well. I mean, collecting the last bit of prize money on offer, and he must have been delighted with that as well. So there we are. Story of the season so far in terms of an underdog story for you in Ireland. What sticks out?
I suppose probably Michael Keneally going onto the scene this season, really, for me. Look, he's plenty of point-to-point experience, and he's ridden plenty of winners in that sphere. But I suppose when you're coming on into the Irish national hunt scene, you need a couple of results to go your way, and he seems to have built up plenty of connections. But I just looked at, like, he won a Christmas for Sonny Carey on the Nagaridi, and then he wins then on Cousin Kate at the Dublin Racing Festival the other day. Like, it's very important to win on them big days, and it gives you such a huge thrill, and it puts you into the limelight. And like there's everyone is there, and they're on the big days. You want to win them kind of races. So I suppose just the way that we've seen him kind of rise through the ranks this season, and look, you're looking at the obvious Cheltenham races, the likes of a Martin Pipe. You'd love to have him on your horse claiming £7. Like he probably could be given £7, never mind claiming them. So look, I just think he's been a fascinating kind of story to keep an eye on this season, and he's riding extremely well, and he's a confident rider, and he's well able to ride. So that's just one for me now, just that I've just been keeping a close eye on him this season, and he seems to be progressing at no end.
This is a Cheltenham build-up show, Niall, and I suppose for yourself, earliest memories at Cheltenham, favourite Cheltenham memories, you know, what sticks out to you over the years?
Probably over the years, I've just been used to these like mad finishes, and I suppose an early memory was the duel between Shishkin and Abracadabras a few years ago in the Supreme. I mean, you have Davy Russell and Nico de Boinville in a proper up the hill finish, and then you had Sam Crow the same year, and Faheen reeling back the years, all of them. I suppose that was my earliest kind of memory of Cheltenham, really, of when I started properly getting into the racing and studying the form as much as I like to do. And that Marsh chase comes to mind, definitely. Sam Crow was a horse that when I was growing up, everyone kind of knew about him. When we go to the Punchestown festivals, he'd be the horse everyone's talking about. And sure, Faheen the Machine, like we all knew about him. And then you have Mellon there as well. Poor Mellon, who just would be always there on the big days, but just couldn't get his head down in front. But I remember that just was such a spectacular race, just seeing the three of them going down to last together, three brilliant jockeys and fighting out a finish. So that was probably my earliest memory now of it.
You mentioned Shishkin. Were you Team Shishkin or Team Energamine when the clashes began?
Oh, he's definitely favouring the Irish horse going over to Ascot that day. But look, that was probably another really good day when you're watching racing kind of as a young fella. You need them type of clashes to get you really, really to grips with the sport. And to watch them that day, I mean, it was a classic finish all the way down. And look, stamina prevailed in the end for Shishkin, and what a brilliant horse he was. And it was very sad to see that he passed away. And look, Energamine is still there, and he's trying his hardest. I know he was beaten fairly comfortably at the weekend again, but it's great to see such a talented horse like him. Like, he's a two-time champion chase winner, and still great to see him out there as a 12-year-old.
Certainly is. At this point in time, Cheltenham, looking at the markets, what would be the nap as it stands at the moment for Cheltenham 2026 for Niall Tierney?
I'm pretty sweet on a horse called ESPRESSO Milan at the minute. He's owned by Stuart Andrews, who obviously had the Grand National winner last year, Nick Rocket. He's a 6-year-old son of Milan, and he's come over from Fergal O'Brien's yard, but he ran in a Punchestown Friday bumper. He was behind King Rasco Gray and that day, and the winner was Manila Emperor for Emmett Mullins. Look, he's just a big smashing horse. I really like the way that he races. He won the maiden in Punchestown before Christmas, and he kind of did things wrong that day. Paul Townend kind of had to steer him on the bend at one stage, and look, he just, when the reins were dropped, and he just booted on, and he jumped the second last and the last quite well, and he was quite taken what he did that day, and he beat Blue Velvet, who's gone on and helped the form. And then he went on to Turles the other day, and he stepped up and tripped markedly, but it was just the same again. Just travelled through the race really nicely, switched off, and there was a turn of gear there at the end, and you're kind of looking at that Albert Bartlett, you need a horse that's going to stay, and all the comments were afterwards that he is going to stay, and that staying is going to be his game. So look, just at the prices, I think he's 14 to 1, 12 to 1 or whatever. So I just think he's one that I've kind of talked about him now for a good while, and I like his profile, and I just think there's plenty more to come for him. So he's just a horse I have really, really good time for. I'm looking forward to what he can do at the festival. Please God that he gets there. Good
shout. By Milan out of a presenting mare as well, so definitely has the right pedigree for the Albert Bartlett, you feel. Horse for a handicap at the moment. Anything, I suppose, stick out for you? And also, we didn't have the tracker segment on this show, so maybe a horse as well. So horse for a handicap at Cheltenham, but also a horse maybe that caught the eye over the last 7 days, whether it be at the Dublin Racing Festival or elsewhere.
Well, the horse for a handicap anyways, I'd probably be looking down the Jazzy Maddie route for the Grand Annual again for Keane Collins. Look, He was an impressive winner of the race last year. I think he's only gone up £7 or something like that for this year. And I was impressed with his run in Thurles the other day. He was back over hurdles again in a race that he was second in the year previous. And I think he was about 5th or 6th that day. But what struck me is when he jumped to second last, he was just gaining confidence going by horses. And look, I don't think the day in Tipperary or in Thurles was the day that was planned for him. So anything he did that day was a bonus. I just think going back over Cheltenham, like he loves it over there. He's a 2-time Cheltenham Festival winner. He was beaten ahead by over there another day in a different meeting. But I just think he's still progressing. Like he's only a 7-year-old and he's a 2-time Cheltenham winner. Keane Collins is a brilliant trainer when it comes to targeting a race, and I think he'll be bang there for the Grand Annual again. He's definitely one that I'd want to be on that day.
One up in Musselburgh that I want to throw into the mix, Secret Force, a horse of Gavin Cromwell's, who, look, there's been lots of debate about stable form, etc. He did have a treble on Goff's Diestas Day, and I thought there was signs that the stable obviously getting back into form. The Passing Wife as well came out and absolutely bolted up, beating Dr. Demenil as well. I think it was at Punchestown last week. So, and I think at the Dublin Racing Festival as well, his horses ran reasonably well, maybe without actually landing any big bullets. Adragul ran very well, of course, in the handicap chase as well. But a horse called Secret Force, as I said, in the Scottish Triumph Hurdle, I'd say he's a horse that once he gets a mark could be worth following, maybe for something like a Boodles. He was a winner at Punchestown earlier on in the season, and I think there could be more to come from him. He ran below form, definitely, at Cheltenham when Gavin's horses maybe weren't going the best. So Secret Force, interesting one, I think, to keep an eye on for me in terms of a tracker horse. Young horse maybe to follow outside of the festival itself, and I believe you have 2 to fire into the mix now.
Yeah, you just mentioned the Passing Wife there. He's probably one now that I've kept a good eye on for a while. He was impressive in his bumpers last season. He seemed to come up against a few good bumper horses, the likes of Redemption Day and so on. And I just think the season over hurdles, he probably found himself a bit unlucky. You look back to that maiden hurdle he ran in Gore, and I mean, the winner that day, the Devil You Know, has gone on to win in Doncaster a Grade 2 event in Skylight Hustle. I mean, he's improving to see no end. 21 length winner of a maiden in Fairyhouse, and goes on and wins a Grade 1, although you could question would he have won that day. But look, he stood up and he won. I think it's a brilliant race, and he was quite unlucky afterwards in the Royal Bond. He just seemed to be getting going at the end and just couldn't get back the other two. And I think they admitted that they were probably wrong to run him in the 2-mile novice race at Christmas. And he went back to Punchestown last week, and what he did to Dr. Demenil, who was highly touted and highly respected by a lot of people, he just seemed to kind of play with him, really. And Keith Donoghue sat there motionless and jumped the last, and off he went. I think he's a horse with plenty of ability anyways, and he seems to be kind of going under the radar a small bit, not probably getting the credit that he deserves. And just another one, I was looking back kind of over the Christmas time, and I like just to see how form ties in. There's a horse called You Raise Me Up for Ross O'Sullivan. He was 4th in a bumper behind Ballyfad, who won in Punchestown that day. He's gone on to win at Christmas since in Limerick. He beat a horse called Burning Ability, and his form ties in with the likes of L'Evangelise, Heads Up, just these other type of horses. So he'd definitely be one now I'd want to keep on side. Definitely. He just looks like every run he's getting to grips with racing. And he's just one now that caught my eye over the Christmas. Maybe when we were looking at the big graded events, we probably weren't paying the respect to the maiden hurdles and the handicap hurdles. He just was a horse now that I liked. And look, Ross O'Sullivan, he can do tremendous things with a horse, and he's an excellent trainer. So that's just one now that caught my eye definitely over the Christmas time.
When we come back from this very quick message, we're going to be putting our latest picks in for the Road to Cheltenham Challenge Series 6, episode number 7. Don't forget get your picks in and your portfolio down below. Make sure to update it. So after this quick message, our latest Ante-Post picks.
McCafferty's traditional Irish bars are located across Ireland, the UK, Spain and the United Arab Emirates. McCafferty's bars provide the perfect backdrop and atmosphere to watch all horse racing and sports events, serving traditional Irish food and music played 7 days a week. Come to McCafferty's for the crack and stay for the experience. Check out mccaffertysbars.com.
Yes, and as you are our special guest on episode number 7 of the series, Niall Tierney, Into the mix, you've already mentioned the horse, I do believe, but nap pick of the festival. Big price. Boylesports are enhancing it out to 14-1. You really like ESPRESSO Milan, don't you?
Yeah, no, look, I'm just taken back with him every time he runs. He's just a big strapping horse, and he catches the eye definitely. And just the way the connections seem to buy their horses, they love these staying horses. Once again, he fits the bill for me big time. And in what looks still an open enough Albert Bartlett, he's definitely one I want to be on. Just looking back at that race in Thurles, Manel Emperor that was behind him, has form tied in with the likes of King's Buck and an impressive Willie Mullins winner, Proof, over Christmas in Limerick as well. So no, he's just a horse that I feel we haven't seen the bottom of anyways, and he can keep on progressing, and I hope he progresses on in the festival as well.
Best of luck with him. I'm going to take a flyer on this week's show because, look, I was happy with the performance of Majborough. He's in the team sheet at 4-1. Romeo Coolio still in the mix for the Arkle. Spindleberry's up in the air, Niall, in terms of my Ante-Post book. But I wanted to get one in maybe before people start maybe properly talking about handicaps. And one that just sticks out for me that I think could run a massive race in the county hurdle. Competitive, I know. But 40-1 just seemed way too big about Hello Neighbour for the county hurdle on the Friday at Cheltenham. Boosted out from 33-1. Two quite enough runs this season, once in the Grade 1, obviously behind Lossiemouth at Christmas, and handicap debutant, of course, in that 2-mile handicap at the Dublin Racing Festival. I thought shaped okay, to be fair, for a long time, but look at his overall form. Grade 1 winner, obviously, at the Dublin Racing Festival last season. And I thought he came a long way in a short space of time last season for Gavin Cromwell. 6 runs last season in total, including 2 on the level. But he's a horse that was obviously 6th in the Triumph Hurdle, was sent off 7-2 for a Triumph Hurdle last season, and made a bad mistake at the last, ended all chance. I don't think he was going to win the race, but he wasn't going to win the race, but he definitely wouldn't have been 6th. And I think the overall form, I mean, looking, obviously Lalamba, I question his form for an Arkle, but he is the Arkle favourite at the end of the day. A high quality horse. Poneros in there as well. I think the overall form, as we're recording, the Gigginstown filly for Willie Mullins, Place de la Nation, if I pronounced that correctly, is running today. So we'll see how she gets on. But I think that Triumph Hurdle might work out okay. And obviously, if you look at the run at Punchestown as well, was 3rd behind Lalamba, only beaten 4 lengths, and a Grade 1 winner, Mercia, was behind Hello Neighbour. So a rating of 148 heading into the Dublin Racing Festival. I thought it was given an eye-catching ride by Keith Donoghue. Gavin's horses hopefully are starting now to run better than they were. Dropped the pound to 147. So that's his official Irish rating. Looking at the race, he will have to carry a nice bit of weight, but 5-year-olds have a particularly good record in the county hurdle, Niall. I think 8 of the last 20 winners were aged 5. And we saw some, really... We've seen some 5-year-olds that maybe haven't won big races in the county hurdle. So I just think he ticks a lot of the right boxes. He looks like he's gearing up for a spring campaign. He's a Grade 1 winner. I just thought lots to like. 40-1 just seemed way too big about Hello Neighbour, and he's run well on the new course in the past. And I think the way a race would be run in a county hurdle would actually play to his strengths. Towing him along for a long time and just delivered there under the hands of Keith Donoghue, who you'd have to imagine will be riding, and the weight won't be an issue. The question is, what does the British handicapper give Hello Neighbour? Will it be £3? Will it be more?
Yeah, I don't know. Look, they kind of have their own way of doing things, but I agree 100%. He's a high-class horse, and we saw it last year. Winner at Leopardstown over Christmas, winner at the DRF as well, and he comes there travelling strongly, which kind of suits types in the county hurdle. You look at the winners in the past few years, they have all kind of been in there on the front end of the race, and they're kind of delivered after the last. And sure, no better man than Keith Donoghue to try and ride one through a wall of horses. So definitely he looks an obvious type, and you have a great price there as well. So I wouldn't put anyone off him at all.
40-1. You can avail of that by clicking the link in the podcast description. It will take you to the Champ.ie price boost landing page on the Boylesports website. So in the video description down below. Niall, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. And look forward to catching up at the races and maybe building up to Cheltenham as well. We might get you on again if you're up for it.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks very much for having me on now, Barry. I appreciate it. And I hope ESPRESSO Milan can go on and do great things, and Hello Neighbour can follow.
And what about Kildare in the football this year? Prospects?
Definitely, there's signs of improvements. A good draw in Tyrone 2 weeks ago, and then a good result at the weekend against Offaly. Plenty of good players there, young players coming up, and the future is bright. But Leinster's looking ultra competitive out at the minute. Likes of Meath, Louth look very good. Westmeath are great as well. So
what about Carlow? You forgot to mention 2 from 2 in the National League.
Yeah, no, look, there's just too many teams and too many horses in my head out at the minute. I can't give them all a shout. But the future's bright for Kildare football, I think, and long may it last.
And of course, not too far from prosperous yourself. You might give us a bar, maybe at Christy Moore, the next time you're on the Champ.ie podcast. Niall, it's been a pleasure. And thanks to everybody who's watched episode number 7, season number 6 of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. And make sure down below, put your selections in for episode. Well, update your portfolio and get your latest selection in on the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. See you next week.
From Dundalk to Longchamp, from the Galway races to the Breeders' Cup, Shamrock Thoroughbreds recently celebrated their 100th winner, and Ireland's leading racehorse syndicate has taken owners all over the world. Shamrock Thoroughbreds founder Stephen Thorne remarkably won the Winter Trainers' Championship at Dundalk during his first season as a racehorse trainer. To experience success with Shamrock Thoroughbreds and Stephen Thorne Racing, check out shamrockthoroughbreds.com.